Panic takes over in Iran, with the Revolutionary Guard and the regular army clashing amid Trump's pressure, the United States blockade, and the internet blackout that tries to hide the cracks within the regime. This Thursday, May 21st, 2026, reports coming from cities like Tehran, Tabriz, Isfahan, Avaz, and other sensitive areas show that the crisis is no longer just outside the borders, nor only at the nuclear negotiating table. The tension now appears within Iran's own military machine, with the Guard accusing sectors of the army of leaking information, arresting officers, and trying to control troops that no longer seem to obey quietly. And when the regime needs to watch its own soldiers while Trump applies pressure from the outside and the population is left in the dark at home, the question is inevitable. Iran is facing a historic war. An external war or an internal implosion? Does the Revolutionary Guard still control Iran, or has it started to lose control? Is Trump seeing the regime crack from within at its most fragile moment? I'll tell you all about this in a moment, but right now you'll want to be subscribed to the channel to stay well informed. Real-time information with the best journalistic quality ever seen following the credibility standard of Alves. The Revolutionary Guard was created to protect the regime's political power, not just to defend borders. The regular army has a different origin, a different function, and a different relationship with the population. That's why the confrontation between these two forces is so significant. According to reports obtained from internal sources, the tension began after Guard commanders expelled army officers and soldiers from joint military facilities, accusing some of them of passing information about missile bases and drone facilities to Israel and the United States. After that, there were localized clashes, casualties on both sides, and the detention of dozens of army personnel. The regime tries to treat this as an isolated case, but the political signal is serious. When one armed force starts to distrust the other, the problem is no longer just operational. The issue becomes command, loyalty, and survival. The Revolutionary Guard has always acted as the regime's hardline arm, used to suppress protests, intimidate opponents, and control conquered areas. The regular army carries the image of a national institution even under pressure from the regime. This difference explains why the clash frightens Tehran so much. It shows that automatic obedience no longer seems so guaranteed. The cities mentioned also add to the gravity of the situation. Tehran is the political center. Tabriz has a history of dissent and regional strength. Isfahan is close to sensitive areas linked to the nuclear program. Avaz is in a region with local tensions and Arab-Iranian communities. When reports of clashes appear in such different places, fear grows because it's not just a discussion inside a distant barracks. The problem is spreading in important areas for security, energy, logistics, and internal control. The internet blackout makes everything harder to confirm in real time, but it also reveals the regime's method. Cutting off communication is not a sign of calm strength. It's a sign of a government afraid of images, afraid of videos, afraid of leaks, and afraid that the population will understand the scale of the crisis. The NetBlocks monitor stated that the internet blackout in Iran was already entering its 12th week, affecting a nation of about 90 million people and limiting access to independent information. This communication blockade is meant to prevent the population from seeing internal cracks in the regime. It's meant to make it harder to coordinate protests. It's used to hide arrests, military movements, and conflicts between armed groups. But forced silence also produces another effect. It increases distrust. When people can't talk to relatives, check the news, or post images, the feeling grows that something bigger is being hidden. While this is happening inside Iran, Trump keeps up the pressure from the outside. On May 20th, 2026, he reiterated that the United States will not allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon and warned that Washington could strike harder if there is no agreement. His statement came at a time when the negotiations were described as close to a decision, but with no guarantee of closure. Trump put the choice on the table. Either Tehran accepts a serious document about the nuclear program or faces a new American escalation. Naval pressure reinforces this strategy. On the same day, United States military personnel boarded the Iranian commercial oil tanker MT Celestial C in the Gulf of Oman on suspicion of violating the American blockade. The vessel was searched, released, and instructed to change its route according to the United States Central Command. This shows that the blockade is not just talk. The Revolutionary Guard tries to respond, creating an appearance of control in the Strait of Hormuz. Iran announced that it is seeking a mechanism with Oman to ensure maritime security and mentioned protocols for ship traffic. Negotiation also plays a part in this game of fear. Pakistan brought a revised proposal from Iran to the United States in an attempt to end the conflict. But Reuters reported that the talks remain stalled over key issues: the nuclear program, control of the Strait of Hormuz, ending the naval blockade, compensation for war damages, and the resumption of Iranian oil sales. Tehran wants relief before giving in. Trump wants concessions before offering relief. In this deadlock, the Guard tries to appear strong. The most sensitive point is that the regime is facing two pressures at the same time. Outside its borders, there's the United States Navy blocking routes, Trump demanding a full response, and regional allies moving cautiously. Inside Iran, there are reports of armed clashes between the Guard and the army, arrests of officers, and fear of leaks of strategic information. This combination is dangerous because closed regimes can withstand external crises for some time, but they suffer much more when doubt enters their own security apparatus. The Revolutionary Guard knows that losing internal trust means losing political control. That's why they respond with arrests, surveillance, and accusations. Army officers accused of leaking become targets because the Guard sees any breach as an existential threat. If the regular troops start resisting the Guard's orders or refuse to carry out operations inside Iranian cities, the regime becomes increasingly dependent on ideological units, internal militias, and intelligence services. This creates more repression, more paranoia, and a greater chance of mistakes. The regular army also doesn't appear as a single bloc. What exists, according to reports, are groups and sectors showing resistance, irritation, and distrust. Fear prevails precisely because it's not a declared battle with a beginning, middle, and end. It's a widespread internal dispute, with parts of the structure testing limits, observing reactions, and gauging who still obeys whom. When a leadership needs to cut off the internet, arrest military personnel, control the news, negotiate through mediators, and respond to a naval blockade, it is not in a comfortable position. If the clashes remain isolated, Tehran will try to suppress them with arrests and an information blackout. If new reports emerge in other cities, the regime will have to split its energy between negotiating with Trump and controlling its own troops. The crisis is escalating because fear has changed sides. Before, Tehran tried to spread fear abroad with nuclear threats. Now the fear is appearing within the very structure that has supported the regime for decades. The Revolutionary Guard may keep projecting strength, but when it has to monitor the army, contain leaks, and arrest soldiers from its own nation, the message is clear. The power still exists, but it no longer carries itself with the same confidence. I'm Milson Alves, an international affairs specialist, and my purpose is to keep you well informed with the truth every day. The news links are in the video description. Like this video, subscribe, and check the comments at the end to engage more with the Milson Alves community.